Darkhorse MVP candidate is this year. So we're not picking the KDs, the Hardens, the Lucas. Darkhorse MVP. Josh, you go ahead and lead us off.
Oh, Darkhorse, huh? Oh, man. I think I just have to make it personal and go Booker, right?
There we go. All right.
Yeah,
I
because
could see the narrative. Yeah.
nobody would expect that. His game just seems to get better and better every year. He's got a great supporting cast. They've got flow. They're salty. They're hungry as a squad. So,
and
for Darkhorse, I don't think he'll be MVP. But Darkhorse, yeah.
That's what it's all about. And I think the narrative there is like Chris Paul misses 40 games, Booker steps up and they're solid. I think that's the narrative that builds like a Booker MVP case. Alan, who do you have?
Yeah, I mean, I like the Booker pick, and I think it's definitely, if you're talking candidate, I think top 5 candidate for sure. Yeah, I could see that. My pick would be being on Rockets Twitter a lot. I think Alperen Şengün. No, I'm kidding. But no, my real dark horse pick is Donovan Mitchell. I think if the Jazz overperform again, and I think a lot of people forget how good he really, really is.
He's really good.
And I think he could find himself like in that top 5 candidate range.
That Mitchell-Murray duel in the bubble was awesome.
Ooh, it was insane,
yeah, that was such fun basketball. Like,
maybe arguably the top game in the bubble, at least of what I recall. Justin, who's your dark horse?
Oh, Josh took my pick. I was going to pick Devin Booker too. I think Booker, you mentioned DeAndre Ayton, just how angry he's going to think. I think Booker is going to have that too. If we believe the narrative about, him and Kobe being close and just that mama mentality, I think he's going to have a grudge. And I think that's going to carry on to him just being a serious force. I think he'll end up in the top 3, but he won't win, unfortunately. And don't get up about Joel Embiid. I think, without Ben Simmons, I think he does get traded somewhere. I don't know. We could talk about that later. But I think Embiid, just without the distraction of Ben Simmons and just him being a focal standpoint, I realize he gets hurt. It's kind of like – I don't know. It's kind of like once you invest in him, especially like in fantasy, you're just on pins and needles every day, just waiting for him just to like pull a hamstring and just be out for 3 weeks. But him healthy, he is a dominant force and a dominant big man in this league. And I don't discount him as being like a serious threat to win MVP. So those are my 2 dark horse picks for sure.
Right on. I love it. I had written down, if Portland does somehow increase their win total, I like a Damian Lillard pick. I feel like the entire NBA, the Portland might be like your second favorite team, or at least Damian Lillard is your second favorite guy if it's just guys outside of the team that you root for. So I could see him building a narrative really easy as well. But I love, all the potential narratives seem like they make sense.
The next question is about League Pass. And I want to know, who do you think is going to be the best League Pass team to watch? And not necessarily like in terms of record, but in terms of entertainment value, and that, the mainstream is not talking about. But when we have League Pass, you're watching them 100% of the time. And Alan, I will ask you this question because you are an aficionado on League Pass. So go ahead and give us some like teams that no one's really paying attention that you think people should be checking out on League Pass this year.
I'm not a fan of the coach of this team, but I think LaMelo Ball and James Bouknight and JT Thor and all those other young guns on that team are must-watch League Pass TV. I think they're going to – they already were fun last year. I watched LaMelo, and he got hurt, and I stopped watching. But I think LaMelo is probably one of the best passers in the NBA. I think they're probably a play-in team. They're still, I think, a little too young, but I think they're going to be so much fun to watch. Bouknight is just throwing down. He went the other night. He had that crazy just dunk across like a couple of people. I'm high on them for watching on League Pass.
Yeah, that was my choice too, LaMelo. I couldn't have said any better. But my other one was the Rockets. I feel like they could be a tad punchy and just kind of annoying. One of those teams that just they seem well coached and like they're doing an intentional rebuild, and guys are trying to prove themselves. Are going to be trying to see who they want to stick with for the long haul. So, yeah.
I love it. I do think the Rockets will be interesting. I had written as my top 3, number 1, the Hornets. So I'm totally with you guys on that. Number 2, Memphis, just because you get to watch John Morant, and they're young and fast as well. And then I also wrote down the Hawks too, just because I think same thing, young, fast, entertaining, a little bit further along the way, as you mentioned, Alan, than like the Hornets and the Grizzlies, I would say. But I still think young enough to be dynamic and kind of a good traditional like league pass team pick. Justin, who do you have?
I'm on agreement. I think the Hornets are going to be a great team to watch. And the only thing with the Hawks, I'm wondering if they're going to get a lot of national TV games because of Trae Young. He's kind of like the villain. So I feel like they're just going to he's a really sexy name to put out. There's Trae Young versus this, Trae Young versus that. He's going to flip off the crowd. Is he going to, what is he going to do? I feel like he's like the villain of like the NBA, and I love it. So I think the Hawks are going to get a lot of national TV love. I think Chicago, I mean, maybe I'm biased, but I think they're going to be fun to watch, even if they don't win a lot of games. At least you're going to see some great dunks. So I'll take that compared to see them be completely irrelevant. So I think those two teams are going to be the Ball brothers with the Hornets and Bulls. So I think that's going to be something to watch out for.
Yeah, I'd have to check, but it's odd. It may be the case that Atlanta has more national games than the Bulls this year.
I think so too. I think that's not. I don't think I'm not surprised by that, just due to Trae Young's run and just how marketable he is. I mean, just with that playoff run, I think he's one of the most marketable stars in the league. Whether you think he's elite has another discussion, but in terms of marketability and like, younger kids thinking he's cool, I think he's right up there. So.
Yeah, we got one more question, and then I don't know, maybe some Ben Simmons discussion or something. Yeah. Let's go ahead and finish out our main questions, and then we've made it, gentlemen. Josh, I'll start with you. Who do you think will lead the league in scoring this year? Last season, it was Bradley Beal, and I don't think it was even close. Who do you think will lead the league in scoring this year?
My gut was Curry. Yeah, he had an MVP caliber year last year with numbers almost better than his 2 previous MVP years.
It's true.
I don't know. I know Clay will be back, but that's just I don't really have like a rational reason. I like him a lot. So, but he seems like he's still at his peak. So I could see with Clay, and hopefully they're a little more consistent, that could take some focus off him and he can get a few more shots. And so.
Absolutely. Alan, go for it. Who's your leading scorer this year?
I think it'll be Bradley Beal again. I think that team doesn't play any defense. They've got to outscore the other teams to have a shot. He doesn't have Russ holding the ball up anymore. Ish Smith is gone, so it's a team that is now designed for Bradley Beal to. He's never met a shot he didn't like. Well, maybe just one, but he's gonna score a lot of points, and he's gonna need to.
Justin, go for it.
Real quickly, I think you're probably right, Alan. I think just to be contrarian, I really think Kevin Durant's going to be super efficient. I think he has a point to prove now. I realize, there's Kyrie Irving and James Harden on that team, totally understand. But just his efficiency and how he scores, I really think he's going to be in the running for that. But I think you're right, Alan, just due to the Wizards not being that good and relying on Bradley Beal, he's probably going to be the leading scorer in the league. But if I would pick somebody else, probably Kevin Durant. But
yeah, that's what I had too, Justin. Like I said earlier, I'll kind of stick with consistency of me having him as the leading vote getter for the All-Star game. And I think with Kyrie being gone for those home games, potentially, we'll see what happens. That gets his usage rate up, and that's what you need, obviously, to be a leading scorer. But there are a lot of shooters on that team, so maybe tough to eclipse that when you compare that with the list of shooters on the Wizards. So I definitely agree with you, Alan, that's a pretty solid pick. Josh, I think too, Steph Curry is a good pick just because anytime you have a guy who can like hit 9 threes in a game in, half a quarter, it's not unlikely he'll be up there on the top of the list.
He's still very, very strong.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I know they haven't dominated the league like they did, but his play is right there where it was.
He's my favorite player in the league. So.
He's still creating space too.
Yeah.
Which impresses me at his age. I think he's 33 heading into this season, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty impressive for a point guard that relies on that agility. I mean, of course, he's always had pretty great handles, but he's aged like a fine wine so far. And I mean, especially considering he had those ankle issues early on, he's really bounced back and been durable throughout this Warriors run.